Hello, I'm Jonathan Eder. Welcome back to the piano lesson. And I'd like to talk about the basic things that one would need to know in order to play jazz piano or music on the piano in general. These are things that unfortunately get neglected among beginners, but they're particularly important if you're interested in playing jazz, because when we're playing jazz, we're really not relying on a written score. We're not relying on printed music. And in order to play music, we have to know what notes to play, okay? And it's a bit abstract, so we really don't simply have a cookbook recipe to follow. Some of that is left up to us as musicians. And if you can find a teacher that has experience playing jazz, playing music, teaching, all the better. But there's really no way to get around these basics, okay? So the first basic is that we really need to understand scales, and we need to understand major scales. And we need to understand all 12 major scales and all 12 minor scales. So the scale sounding like that, okay? And we need to know all 12. So that's C, G, D, right? And then upper fifth A, upper fifth E, upper fifth B, upper fifth F sharp, upper fifth C sharp or D flat, upper fifth A flat, upper fifth E flat, upper fifth B flat, upper fifth F, and we're back to the C again. That's our circle of fifths, okay? So that is really critical to understanding music. So let's just go through that again. It's kind of like a clock, okay? And the clock strikes 12, okay? But typically we think of C up here. So C, G, D, A, E, B. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Then F sharp or G flat, C sharp or D flat, and then A flat. There really is no key of G sharp major. I'll explain why. And then upper fifth to E flat, B flat, and F. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And B is also C flat. All right? So that's the circle of fifths, the infamous circle of fifths that we really need to know. Now, make the circle of fifths simple, okay? People get kind of bent out of shape about sharps and flats and all of that. Just make it easy, okay? It's just, we're reciting the alphabet, okay? So if you start on A, B, C, D, E, that's a fifth. Now, that happens to be the fifth that we're looking for. It's called a perfect fifth. There might be instances where it might be a sharp or flat, but at the very least, it has to be 5 letters in the alphabet above, okay? So, for instance, B, right? B, C, D, E, F, that's basically a fifth. We really want F sharp. The F sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, that's a perfect fifth. And you can hear it too if you play. If I played F natural, it's probably not going to sound quite right. So you can use your ear a bit. And you need to understand that beyond the key of C, you're going to need to use sharps and flats. And the scale, the musical alphabet, has 7 letters. That means we can have up to 7 sharps, or we can have up to 7 flats. We don't mix sharps or flats in a key signature. And the key signature is this sort of early warning system at the beginning of the music that's going to tell us what sharps or flats to play, okay? So the key of G, as an example, the key of G uses one one sharp. It's F sharp, and that's that. So that F sharp, right? It's not going to sound right if you play the F natural. So you could kind of tell, all right? And as you add sharps, you always retain the previous sharp. So the key of D is now going to have one additional sharp, and you have to retain the old one. So it's F sharp along with a fifth higher than that, F, G, A, B, C. 5 letters in the alphabet, C sharp, okay? So there's your 2 sharps, all right? And then the key of A, again, you're going to retain the old sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and 5 above that, C, D, E, F, G sharp, right? So you have to kind of practice reciting the alphabet, okay? That's then F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp, all right? That's 4 sharps. And then we'll just overlook the C flat for the moment. Key of B, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and one more sharp, A sharp. Those are all, again, all fifths, all right? And the key of F sharp, we'll skip the enharmonic spelling. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and one more, E sharp, which is a white key. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. It's perfectly acceptable to call a white key A sharp. Sharp just means play the very next key higher. And then from F sharp to the key of C sharp, again, all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sharps, and one more, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and the last sharp is B sharp, okay? C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, right? Those are referred to as steps. I'm going to switch back to flats. So if I went the other way, I would add one flat, okay? But that's our 7 sharps in the key signature. Now again, if we're talking about flat keys, okay, then 3 of these keys you can spell in more than one way. So the key of F has 1 flat. It's actually B flat in the key signature. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Okay. B flat, you retain the old flat, B flat and E flat. That's your E flat. B flat, E flat, and A flat is 3 flats. That's the key of E flat. B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. That's 4 flats. D flat is 5 flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. Again, we're all going down by fifths. You have to know fifths to be a musician. All right. If you don't know fifths, you're gonna have a big problem. And then the key of G flat, that's 6 flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, right? And that's also B on the piano. Here's a G flat scale, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F, G flat. Notice I'm using a unique letter name for every note that I'm playing, and I don't mix sharps or flats. And then C flat, again, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and F flat, all right? Here's the key of C flat. C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat. You're unlikely to see the key of C flat as a key signature, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flats. That's the possibility. What you really want to understand is that we're talking about steps, and a step is the very next note on the piano or on the staff. So it doesn't even matter what the clef is. If I start on a space, the next one's on a line, space, line, space, line, space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the next note that's the octave. A space note up to a line note, that's an octave, okay? That's an octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Space line, space line, space line, space line. Those are called steps. Now I could make a clef, right? If I make a treble clef, right? Suddenly this becomes F, and then I would need to make this B flat. And I typically would do that at the beginning of the music in the key signature. That's the key signature, right? So that's kind of how you do it. You want to know the right notes to play that sound good. If I got rid of that treble clef, okay, and I made it into another kind of clef, there's other kinds of clefs too, right? There's you can have a bass clef, but there's other clefs too. They're called C clefs. But if I made that into a bass clef, then suddenly that would be an A, and then we would be in the key of A, probably as A natural, right? So I would have 3 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. That's my key signature now. All right, and A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, making parentheses around them because usually you don't see them written in the music. Okay, but that would be the key of A. All right, that would be that's kind of how it works. Okay, and if you don't know that, you're just gonna have a rough time making music. You're just not gonna know what to do. And the next thing you need to do is you need to be able to not only make steps, you need to make skips. So if you start on an A as an example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? You need to skip letters in the alphabet. You need to know how to do that. And that makes chords, okay? The skips are the easy way to make chords. So A, C, E, G, B, D, F, right? That's how you make chords. If I skip notes on the piano, that's a chord. It's an A minor chord. If I change the middle note to a black key, that's C sharp. That's a major chord. But that's how you make basic triads. So you need to be able to take the notes of any scale, whatever it is, and you need to be able to make skips out of it. C, skipping up to E, skipping up to G, okay? And you need to be able to go up the scale, up and down the scale, and make those skips. Those are referred to as diatonic triads, right? Tri meaning 3, okay? But those are chords. That's what we call a harmonized scale, right? Those are the chords that you would probably most likely use if you were in the key of C. If I'm in the key of G, I have one black key. I have to make sure I play that black key, not the white key. You have to be able to do that, all right? Likewise with D. See how it makes the same music, or A. Right? Each one of those chords has a name. The name comes from the lowest note in the chord. All right, that's the root of the chord, and there are basically 3 different kinds of chords that we're going to run across. So we're going to run across major chords, minor, and diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? There's 7 letters in the musical alphabet. The uppercase Roman numerals, those are the major. Those are the major chords. Those are the primary, P-R-I-M-A-R-Y. Those are the primary chords. And then the lowercase Roman numerals, those are referred to as the secondary chords. All right, and those are those are mostly minor, with one exception. This over here, that is, let's make it look a little different. A triangle, that's called diminished. All right, and there's a reason why it's called diminished. But here's a major chord, here's a minor chord, the difference being the middle note, and then here's a diminished chord, the difference being the top 2 notes. All right. So the word minor referring to the third of the chord, and the word diminished, when we take a perfect interval like a perfect fifth and we lower it a half step, we get a diminished interval. So it's C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C major, and that pattern is consistent throughout any key. G major, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, or D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished. It makes the same music. So you need to be able to take any of those scales and make chords out of them. And then we could take each of those chords and make inversions from those chords so that we can use them in various ways. That's root position, C, E, G, okay? We have root position chords. We have root position chords versus inversions. All right. So the root position chord, C, E, G. Okay, C, E, G. The first inversion, E, G, C. E, G, C, C, E, G. Take the C, play it up here. That's an inversion. And then take the E, play it an octave higher. Right? That's another inversion. That's second inversion. So G, C, E. That's first inversion and second inversion. All right? And you need to be able to take each of those chords and make inversions out of that. D minor and E minor and F major. If you can't do this, you're going to have a rough time playing music, okay? This is what musicians do, and it takes time to learn this, all right? But it's well worth it. Music is kind of abstract, all right? So you have to make it real. Right? That's what it means to make take each chord and play root position and inversion. Now I'm playing all the notes at the same time. Those are called block chords. If I played one note at a time, that's called a broken chord. And that kind of forms a kind of arpeggio. Right? And taking each chord and playing each one in broken as a broken chord. And you do this in the left hand and the right hand. And then you learn to take those chords and you learn to create patterns out of those chords. So typically, the patterns that we make use primary chords. So again, the primary chords, those are the chords that you're going to see in most music. And so in the key of C, the primary chord, C, E, G, F, A, C, G, B, D, C, F, G, those are your primary chords. And the primary chords are used in classical music, and they're used in rock and roll, they're used in folk music, holiday music, 1, 4, 5. And they sound better if you can play those chords not only in root position, but you can play them using what we call VOICE, voice leading. Sometimes we call it smooth, S-M-O-O-T-H, smooth voice leading. Smooth meaning we're not jumping all over the place. A voice is a note, and leading is telling them what to do. So the C chord and the F chord have a common note. It's the C. Here's the C, but they're an octave apart. So let's take the C, we'll move it down here, all right? Now we can play that chord in close proximity, and it also kind of sounds a little better in some ways. Likewise up here, the common tone among the C and the G is the G note, all right? So if we take the top two notes up here, the B and the D, all right, and we move them down here, B and D, and that makes them sound a little smoother, all right? So that's the next thing we need to do, and you can do that using block chords or broken chords. You need to be able to do that in any key. E flat, E flat, A flat. All right, you need to be able to do that just without thinking, okay? Now, we have chords that go beyond triads. Right? They are seventh chords, and the most common seventh chord type is what we call a dominant chord. The five chord. Okay, this is the one chord, right? This is the four chord because it's the fourth note in the scale. This is the five chord because it's the fifth note in the scale. G, B, D. I'll put it back in root position. G, B. Let's make that line a little bit clearer, huh? Okay, so G, B, D. G, B, D. And then if I add an extra note, skip up one more note, add an F. Now that we have G7, and sometimes we call that again dominant, D-O-M-I-N-A-N-T. One is tonic, and the 4 is the subdominant. It's the subdominant. That sounds like adding that extra note. So typically the cadence would be if 1, 4, 1, 5, and I'm adding the F that makes it the dominant. Da, dum. You can hear that. Gives it a little bit extra emphasis. So we have the tension and release. We have the resolution, suspension, and the resolution. Right? That's pretty important to do. 1, 4, 1, 5. Right? It's B flat. 1, 4, 1, 5. Right? We need to be able to make sure that we can do that, in any key, just adding that extra note. Now, going back to our harmonization of the scale, we did the triads, right? We can add one more note. We can skip another note, okay? And I'm going to write treble clef. Typically, you're going to play chords in bass clef, but C, E, G, B, okay? That's C major, M-A-J-O-R, C major 7, okay? Sometimes we just write C, M-A-J 7, all right? But that's we add an extra note, that major 7. D, F, A, C, again, space, 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 skipping. That's how you read music. D minor 7, small m. E, G, B, D. E minor 7, F, A, C, E, F, M, A, J 7, major 7. And I'll explain why those chords are what they are, okay? G, B, D, F, G7, A, C, E, G, A minor 7, and B, D, F, A, B, minor 7, flat 5, and I'll explain what that means, okay? But those chords would sound like this, all white keys. Right? In G major, it would sound like this. In D major, it would sound like this. Right? And we have to get good at that, okay? And likewise, we have to be able to take each of these chords and create inversions. That's an inversion of the C major 7 chord. This is root position, first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion, and then root position. D minor. Right, I'm doing this quickly just to give you an overview. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. This is right, F major 7. G7, but I really don't want to leave anything out. A minor, okay? And then B minor 7, flat 5. Oh, excuse me, I played the wrong note. All right, and we're back to the C. All right, so that's the raw materials that you need to be able to, you have to master those things in order to play music. And particularly if you want to play jazz, because you just have to you're not going to be given a written score, right? You have to, if someone's going to give you a chord symbol, and you're going to have to know what that means, and then you're going to have to know how to interpret it, okay? So let's talk about the 4 different 7th chord types. Those chords are referred to as diatonic, D-I-A-T-O-N-I-C, diatonic 7th chords. All right, those are the chords that are in the key, right? Whatever key we're in at the time. In C, it's all white keys. But there's 4 basic 7th chord types. There's major 7. There's minor 7. There's dominant 7, and then there is what we call half diminished. Can't fit that in. Half diminished 7. Okay. So let me explain what that means. Let's just take one chord. Let's take one of the chords. All right. We seem to always want to start with C. So C, E, G, B. That's C major 7. Right? Why? Because you're using the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th note in the C major scale. 1, 3, 5, 7. Those are called scale degrees, D-E-G-R-E-E-S, like degrees on a thermometer. Then if I modify that somewhat, C, E, G, B flat, I lower that 7th note in the scale, right? That's called C7. If I lower another note, the middle note, C, E flat, G, B flat, all right, that's C minor 7. And then if I lower it one more again, the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's why we call it the flatted 5th there. If I C, E flat, G flat, B flat, C minor 7, flat 5, all right? That's major 7, 7, minor 7, minor 7, flat 5. Those are the 4 different 7th chord types that you will encounter in in any key if you form diatonic 7 chords. Now, you won't encounter all of these. The only 7th chord that you'll encounter in the key of C is this chord, because that's the only chord that uses the notes in the C major scale. Okay, but that would make sense, right? Okay. All right, I gave you a lot of information. The only other, the last thing, if we're talking about 7 chords, we would typically use a different chord pattern. The chord pattern, rather than the primary chords, which we discussed earlier, 1, 4, 5, typically we would use a different chord pattern called 2, 5, 1. I don't have time to talk about that, but you can certainly Google that, and you can probably guess what that means. You're using the 2nd, 5th, and 1st chord, diatonic chord in a key. All right, I gotta run. Hope I gave you a lot of good information, and if I didn't, then well, I apologize. So drop me a note, let me know you're listening. This is Jonathan Eder, and this is the piano lesson, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.